Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our troubleshooting series where we share some of the business cases we've been through with our publishers that we were able to overcome using Pubstack's data. So today we'll have a look at an interesting use case that we witnessed on one of our publishers at Stack a few months ago. This is one of the many good examples of what Pubstack's granular data allows us to do. And as we will see in the results, it's a fix that generates a revenue uplift for the publishers. And it takes a lot of these relatively small optimizations to have an ad stack running at an optimal level. So in this case, our custom data collection method allows us to detect an issue that we would not have been able to spot if we were only using GAM data or SSP data. So let's dive into it. We first noticed that there was something wrong when we saw that on the publisher's inventory, despite the 20 cents UPR that was in place, we had impressions below the UPR for one specific SSP. So we'll call it SSP1 in this example. As you can see, thanks to the bid distribution that we have within the Pubstack interface, we were able to detect quite easily that there were still some impressions at a lower CPM than the UPR. This should absolutely not be possible. To have a clear view of what was happening, we did a full-scale analysis of the behavior of this SSP. So it's represented on the graph here on the slide. We noticed right away something very strange. There were some auctions that were being won by SSP1, despite not having the highest bid. So in this example, SSP1 was bidding with a 2.7 CPM, but SSP3 was actually having a higher CPM at 5.10. But what we can see in the ad server is that SSP1 was actually printing with a 5.7 CPM. So there was definitely something very strange happening here. This was having a negative effect on the publisher's ad revenue because SSP1 in the end was not paying 5.7 CPM, but it was paying the 2.7 CPM coming from its original bid. So it was preventing the highest bidder from printing, and the publisher was selling the inventory at a lower price. We looked on the publisher's page at what was happening on these instances. So here we have the same graph as before, but we added a second ad unit to it. So it's a page with multiple ad units. There's the ad unit from the last slide in purple, and the second ad unit is represented in green. When there were several ad units on the page, if SSP1 was bidding at a higher price on one of the other ad units, that price would be sent to the ad server as the SSP's bid for the first auction. So we can see here that on the second ad unit, SSP1 is actually bidding 5.7 CPM, and its bid is being used for both auctions and both ad units. So now that we know what was causing the issue, the publisher can move forward and get in touch with the SSP and discuss with them to identify what was wrong in the setup and get to the root cause of the problem. And then, of course, they can make the necessary adjustments to fix it. Thanks to Pubstack's data, we were able to troubleshoot the issue successfully, and once the publisher and the SSP had fixed it, we were able to make an estimation of how much revenue was being lost because of it. On every impression that SSP1 had won, we checked if there was another SSP that had a higher CPM, and we also looked at how much higher that CPM was. The difference between the two was the revenue that was lost by the publisher. So the uplift was an additional 4% of the total revenue on the impacted ad units, which accounts for 2,000 euros per month on pre-bid revenue. This is a minimum estimation because we're not counting the potential losses in AdX. It's possible that this defective targeting was also preventing some of the bids from AdX to win the auction. A 4% uplift on some ad units might not seem like anything groundbreaking, although it's a pretty quick fix for a 20K annual uplift. But keep in mind that this is really just one example out of the countless possible fixes and optimizations that Pubstack can bring to your setup. And when you add up all these fixes together, you do get some very, very impactful uplifts.